Hello, welcome to our sixth episode of our review of the Acolyte. No, it's our fifth episode of recording the Acolyte, but it's the sixth episode called Teach/Corrupt because there was a two-parter at the start. Now, we're going to be putting this out on YouTube under the channel Trek Wars and Fantasy, and also on Apple Podcasts under the Acolyte Review podcast. I'm Ben, and my co-host today from the at Olympus 0511 YouTube and Twitch channel is.
Yes, thank you very much. Great to be here. My name is Tom, aka Olympus. I'm really looking forward to going into this one. A very different paced episode from episode 5, which was kind of needed after that. I was kind of left very jarred and shocked, and equally did really enjoy the fifth episode.
Yeah, no, I agree that it. I did feel a little bit lost on this episode, as in it was just like, okay, this is slower than I was expecting, especially after the last episodes.
If you
But
take, you are right. If you look at the entirety of this episode, here's a TLDR for everyone, I guess. If you look at the entirety of episode 6, nothing happens. Like, literally, in terms of plot progression, nothing happens. In terms of
yeah,
character development, I think there is a chunk of stuff that goes on which must be important as we move into episode 7 and 8.
oh, definitely, there is a couple things, and I don't want to jump right to the end yet,
No.
but there's definitely a few things. Um, we wake up though, or another one of the wake up scenes with Osha waking up.
That's exactly what I've got on my notes. Another dramatic wake up for Osha.
At
That must be 5 she's had now.
least, and I think May gets one later,
She does.
or
She
Osha gets
gets.
one. Yeah.
No. May does get a little one later on. She gets to join the bandwagon of interesting wake ups. And this time, Osha's waking up on the mysterious island that we saw at the beginning of episode 1.
It is. And really, even though I worked it out pretty quickly and probably not as quickly as I should have, this did definitely remind me of the planet from the last Jedi and the Force Awakens,
Yes, the
which
planet
I had
Luke's
read.
on.
Yeah, and I've completely forgot the name of it now off the top of my head. But it definitely reminded me of that. And I made a note. I was going to write that down so I didn't forget, but I didn't. But yeah, it definitely has that look from there, and it has a look of the area that I live in the UK, which is Cornwall. But I know, so like going further up the coast, there's Devon and Somerset and the coast areas off the coast there. It just definitely reminds me of that.
The name of the planet is Acto.
That's the one.
At least that's
That's
the
the
name of
one.
the planet that Luke is on in The Last Jedi.
You know.
What planet this is, don't know, but you are right. I got the exact same vibe when I saw the sort of pan out and you get to see the full island. I'm like, that looks very familiar. And you know, the next thing, I had a second sort of reminiscence of The Last Jedi with those cute little elephant-looking creatures. They just remind me of the porgs. They're the
Yeah.
porgs of that island.
Oh, definitely. And um, yeah, they look very like the stones, so some kind of camouflage. And actually, I'm pretty sure when we see Osha eventually walk out to the cave after trying to get after working out there's some water she can drink, she walks past them, and they almost look like they're trying to disguise themselves as the background, which I didn't notice first time, but second time with going through for it just before the episode, they definitely looked like they were
Oh
trying
yeah.
to disguise that.
Oh yeah. That was definitely a little defense mechanism, and I kind of like that little touch. So there's two already similarities to The Last Jedi and Acto between that island and the Porgs. And then we cut to Kofa again, where we've got Sol and May taking off and leaving the planet. You've got Sol trying to get hold of the Jedi and failing. There's something wrong with the comms. I, at this point, wasn't too sure if May had done something to sabotage things. I wasn't entirely sure. And you see May creeping up on him while he's in the cockpit with a little dagger ready to strike, and he just turns around too quickly. And it's like, oh, Osha, hello, can you take control of the con here, and I'm going to go down and try and fix this communication issue. And that's where you see Sol's emotions being let out again. But he does it for 2 seconds where he bangs the console, and you see this emotion all through his face. And I think this is some brilliant acting from the actor for Sol here, because as soon as he's done that, it's like he's got it all out of himself. He's let the darkness out, and then he recomposes himself in his Jedi order, so to speak, and then carries on from there. Which I found it was definitely a needed scene for Sol, I think, after the events of the fifth episode.
Yeah, he completely lost, and it's just showing that he's still got that there. And I'm wondering if this is just clouding his judgment, when it comes to it being May there. Because I'm still pretty sure after what comes later that he doesn't completely know that's Osha quite yet.
No, I do have a note a little bit further on, which I'll get to, saying, "Ooh, maybe he doesn't know," because there's some type of interaction he has with her a little bit later. But we do then have a little skip over to, I've forgotten his name, the tracker. What's the name of the wee tracker guy again?
That is Basil.
Basil.
I nearly misread my notes and went Brazil, but that's because they're spelling it was a Z, and I decided to spell it their way this time.
Brilliant, brilliant. So you've got Basil, who finds the charging dock and works out how to start charging Pip back up. So Pip returns. Happy
Yeah,
days. And from there, that was
yeah,
I just like that little bit where you see Basil sort of sneaking around. Imagine start charging up Pip, and you think, right, Basil's got a plan. Let's see what goes on here. Um, and then we jump back. This is quite a jumpy episode, I noticed.
yeah.
Because then we jump straight back to the mysterious island. I'm just going to call it Mysterious Island. Um, you've got Osha spotting Kamir out on the beach, following him down. He then decides to get naked and walk into this pool and go for a swim. And my notes exactly were, he gets naked, then goes for a swim. Okay. He obviously knows she's there as well. The way his eyes move and whatnot while he's in the pool, he
Oh yeah,
knows she's there.
yeah.
Um,
I think I did make a note. Part way through the walk, it's like he knows she's there, and then it was like, okay, they've actually shown that he definitely knows that she's there. And it was one of those ones that when you first saw it, she looked over her shoulder. It was just like, how can he have missed her?
yeah,
He hasn't.
he hasn't. He hasn't.
Yeah.
He knows she's curious as well. She is curious about everything. Um, he obviously then addresses her, gets back out, pulls on his clothes, and the interactions that they're having at this point, I don't remember the in-depth conversation. I think it was a lot of her saying, you killed him, you killed her, you did this, you did that," and he was just batting off all of these accusations with yes, but, yes, but, yes, but, and you could tell he felt very justified in everything that he had done. But the one thing I noted in that entire interaction was that tension was palpable as I was watching that scene. Like my heart was beating, I was forgetting to breathe, and I was just watching them going, "Oh my god." And the entire time, she was holding his lightsaber, but I was scared for her. So I think
Yeah.
that just plays, or tells a very true story for me, just how good and how well they've built up Kamir's character over the last few episodes. He is definitely the bad guy in this, and I think they really delivered that in episode 5 to the point that now he's totally unarmed, talking calmly. Osha's got the upper hand with the lightsaber almost in his face at this point in time, and I'm still scared for her, not him, because I know
I
he's
completely
absolutely
agree.
fine.
Yeah.
He is totally in control throughout all of this. I'm sure of it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's like, even if he knows it goes pear-shaped, he will. He knows he has the strength. It needs a cunning plan, which I don't think she's quite got yet, even though she knows that people will come searching for her.
Yeah.
I don't think her plan is quite that cunning enough to be able to solve it.
No, definitely not. Definitely
Was that
not.
something new?
Hmm.
No, I'm gone.
So I was just going to add to this as well. The one bit of the conversation I do remember is he brings up the whole master and pupil topic again. And that makes me think he definitely, because he mentions it in episode 5, he wants an acolyte. He's definitely after a pupil. Why does he want a student, a pupil, a follower?
Yeah,
Why is he after that? Which he kind of answers a little bit later on, so I won't get to that just now. But I remember leaving that scene going, this whole I want a pupil thing is very important to him.
yeah. Why does it? Yeah, why is it that important to him?
Exactly. Why?
Um, um, I have got the power of two written down,
That's
which no one.
later.
Yeah, which is probably later, but I don't. I think it's because I maybe have my notes in the wrong order. But yeah, yes, I do have my notes in the wrong order, and I'll go. That's in. But completely get me back on track again before
Yeah,
I.
that is fine. That is fine. So, once that conversation sort of cuts, we're back on Sol's ship, and Sol comes back into the cockpit and just grabs May. Obviously, we think he thinks it's Sosha, gives her a big tight squeeze, and he's full of all these apologies, and he reveals that he's going to tell the High Council everything. He's going to come clean about whatever happened all those years ago. He has to put it right now. And it was this point that I went, okay, I'm now convinced he doesn't know that May is May. That's the point.
So, yeah,
Um,
completely agree. It's also I've got something to tell them. He was happy to tell them, ready to tell the High Council everything, or at least that's what it came over. And something
he
later on
did.
has changed his mind. Probably when he worked out it was May.
Yeah, I expect so. Well, yeah, because at that point, for fear of skipping on, his brain will no longer be, I'm in a situation where I could go back to the council and tell them it's now, I need to save Osha first,
Yeah,
then deal with everything else afterwards. But
yeah,
again, I'm jumping ahead a little bit.
yeah. And do you thinking about something I just checked in my notes? He, Premier was telling when their conversation with Osha is like, was there almost as if there was a special relationship, more of a special relationship between him and uh, Osha, and it was just like there just almost seems like there's more than that relationship between master and students,
Yeah, and I
and
think you were about to say it's like father and daughter, maybe is that additional
maybe
layer, perhaps, but we just don't know enough about their backstory and Osha's history in the Jedi Order from when she joined them to really understand that, do we? It's one
yeah,
of the unanswered questions that I was really hoping we'd get an answer to this episode.
yeah, or at least enough to be able to set up for, or hopefully at the end of season 8 we know enough and to at least set up a possible second season. But
Yeah,
that's something for the future to discuss.
indeed. And then we move back to the island, as I say, very choppy back and forth here. And we find out that I believe Osha and Kamir head back to the cave, and we find out that Kamir was a Jedi a long time ago. That's how he knows about the stances that she's using, and that's how he's lightsaber trained, and he starts talking about. In fact, I'm skipping slightly there. Sorry, but he's starting to talk a bit about his past, basically, just to wrap that off. Now, my
Yeah,
theory before was that he was a part of the Jedi in the past. I was glad that I was right with that one.
yeah. I didn't actually think that he possibly might be, but I'm still not 100% sure if he was. But I believe he has had interaction with Vernestra at all, just because of the scar on his back. And after seeing, which we're going to bring in now, because I'm going to mention it, is her whip, her light whip.
Oh, I
It's
hadn't
just,
thought of that. Wow, I like that
but
theory.
yeah, she's either was his master or he's had, in my head, is had an interaction with her and gonna play on that.
Yeah, now, the reason I believe him is because, as evil and bad guy-esque Khmer is, I don't think we've caught him in a direct lie when he's talking to someone directly yet.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't seem to be a liar. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
tempted to believe him. And then it also adds to the whole conspiracy, Jedi aren't perfect kind of message that we're getting through this season. And then we jump back to the ship, back and forth, and we see Basil and Pip being confronted by May. I've got a note here: Basil and Pip make a good team. You know, between Basil like kicking or biting her leg or whatever, and then Pip setting that oil in her face. I just thought that was a brilliant little combo that they had going there. But
Yeah.
then, but then May gets her comeuppance, doesn't she? She resets Pip to factory default settings.
Yeah, I like that. There was also a factory settings, little button somewhere in there. It's just like, I've got a pen here, and it's like you put the pen in the little hole just to go reset it, and that probably sounds very bad with an innuendos there, but I don't care. This is like,
It is,
but
it is, it is funny though, isn't it?
yeah,
In a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, their devices did have a factory default.
yeah, I like
Oh,
it. I like it.
um, and then we jump again back to the island, and we get another little debate between Osha and Khmer. Khmer is explaining to Osha about how the Jedi teach one way to connect to the Force and use it, and then if you don't follow that route, you start to lose your connection to it. In reality, there's another way of connecting to it that they don't want you to know about. You've got all these strong emotions that you can tap into, and of course, he's talking about anger and passion and lust and grief and hatred and all this stuff. And I was just like, but that's the path to the dark side. And I just love this phrase. He goes, semantics.
Yeah,
And that's,
that was,
sorry.
yeah, no, I agree. That was great. It's like, yeah, it is another perspective. Okay, this is also sounding like a politician. It's like, oh, their way is wrong, but their way is the way he's on about is probably just as wrong. It's like they're just the uh, yin and the yang of opposite ends, and it's just like, yeah, both ends are wrong. You probably need to meet in the middle somewhere and coincide.
Exactly that. And you can see Osha at this point starting to wane a little bit in her arguments. She's starting to I'm not sure if she's quite seeing his point of view, but you can tell that she's starting to think about things.
Yeah.
So you can see the whole corruption part of this episode really starting to come into it. But then there's the whole question, is it corruption or is he teaching? Which is he doing here?
A bit of both, probably. It's
Maybe.
or making her feasible to being taught.
From his perspective, the Jedi probably corrupted her. But there you go, semantics. And that's one more point I want to put in. The last couple of episodes in particular, I love the humour that Khmer throws in. It's just this blunt harshness, but he's so right, and it's just these funny little one-liners he throws in that makes you stop and go, well, actually, yeah, one, that's funny, and two, he's kind of right here, you know.
Yeah,
He's a
very
great
true.
he's a great bad guy, and then we jump finally to a different location.
Yes.
We go back to
Finally,
on you go.
no, and it's like we finally get to the area about the whip, and another part that made me sad again, and it reminded me of last week.
So we're not
Uh,
quite at the whip yet.
oh, not quite, but it just still makes me think of that.
It does, because we're finally talking to Master Rowe, aren't we?
Oh no, we haven't left the Coruscant, have we?
No, that's we've not left Coruscant yet. Exactly. So she's just heard about the distress call that Saul had been trying to send, and that it sounded like most of the team had been killed. So Roe is like, right, get me a ship, get me a crew, we're going out there now. And we discover that she gets space sick in hyperspace, which is a shame.
Yeah,
I've got
it
one.
is. I can completely sympathise with her. Okay, I don't know if I get space sick, but I definitely get travel and motion sickness from various devices ways. So I can completely sympathise.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got Masaru gets space sick, bleh. Um, and then we jump back to Soul and May. Soul's questioning himself in front of May. How did he not sense Kamir being who he was the very first time he saw him in, I think it was episode 3 or 4. Um, and then we discover, of course, that Soul has at some point realised. I wonder if it was Pip. I don't know what your thoughts have been. I wonder if Pip gave it away. The way that she
Possibly,
responded about him.
yeah, that might have been their final decision, along with May. I don't know how much Basil involved, but I think it was also when he was wanting her to go and fix the ship.
Yeah.
There's it was also that delay, and she went off. I have a feeling that she didn't do what he so was expecting her to do because she's a mech. Um,
That's a good point.
because she was going, probably should have gone out on the. Think, okay, I know, which may relate to Pip because I'm thinking, did she somehow get this done another way? Fix the ship another way because we find out the ship was fixed. But I was thinking as soon as he said that, it was like, hang on, wouldn't she go out and get her hands dirty
Mm.
to do it?
There's also the conversation that we're having where he where she says to him, "Do you realize how much of myself I had to give up to
Yeah,
become a Jedi?" Which is out of character of Osha as well, because you can tell from Osha's character and the way she's interacting at the moment with Kamir
yeah,
that she's got a lot of reverence for the Jedi. She respects them, and I think she does wish she was a Jedi.
yeah.
But I can see
Uh,
that in her, and I'm sure Soul sees that in her too. So I think that was another potential giveaway for it.
yeah, it was a case of lots of hints, and it's like, yeah, and this is crossing the lines and dotting the i's, like
Yeah, dotting the i's and crossing
dotting
the
those
t's.
crossing the t's to go, yeah, this is not her, and with Basil also helping in some way.
Yeah, very true. And then we jump back to the island and we get, for anyone who isn't familiar with, it had already been introduced to canon a little bit, and we didn't talk about this too much in the last episode because I couldn't remember much about the material at all. But we get the explanation on cortosis from Kamir, what that substance is. Now, this substance originates from the Legends side of Star Wars, and it was reintroduced in canon in a novel, I think, a few years back. But this is the very first time that we have ever seen cortosis live on screen. So he was talking a bit about that, how it's used at the temple for some of their training, and he then goes on and again talking about this pupil teacher relationship he wants, and this is where he references, "I want the power of two," which very, very closely links that Sith reference of it's not the power of two, is it? It's the rule
No,
of two.
roll the two, but the power of two sounds like the power of many,
Similar,
a,
similar.
aka the chant.
Oh, they go the power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. So could he actually be referring to the power of two element of the witches, when the power of
yeah.
two would have related to the twins?
It wasn't until I read it back in my notes. I didn't think of this during the thing. It wasn't, but it was because I thought of that as in the rule of 2.
Mm-hmm.
But the power of two, is when I've written down, it's almost like that, and I'm going, yeah, that's got to be related.
That's a very, very good point. I hadn't thought about that. I'm going to have to give that some more thought. I like the theory. And then we get to lightsaber whip. I've been
Yeah.
waiting to see this weapon. It did not disappoint. I quite enjoyed seeing it.
Yeah, the first time I was, because it was so quick and over, I I wasn't quite as impressed first time, but I rewatched the episode just before this, and it was just like, actually, yeah, I did like that. So just short enough to not give me too much time to think about it, but long enough that it was like, oh, that looks
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, no, it definitely did. And obviously that was her reacting to one of those flying creatures I've forgotten the names of coming at her. Um, the one other bit about that scene of her walking through the corpses though was Jackie. That
Yeah,
just hit me like a
I
ton of
got that done.
bricks.
And yeah, that's what I was referring to earlier. When I jumped out of my notes was, oh no, yeah,
It was the eyes wide open and lifeless. It was just the brutality. Again, it's the brutality of it was heartbreaking
I agree.
because I really loved that character, and I've got to take my hat off to now that I've had a week to process it, how brave the writers were for doing what they did in episode 5. They've
Yeah,
proved that they've actually taken their bad guy and shown us that he's a bad guy. Instead of
yeah,
going, ooh, he's a big bad guy, but don't worry, there aren't any real consequences. No, he obliterated a lot of characters that we could see progressing and developing, we're starting to get attached to.
and actually, yeah, I think for the most part, uh, other than the people who are just being idiots online, lots of people have actually took up to Jackie and even to a degree Lord uh, in these, but especially Jackie. I saw that. It's like nobody really talked to her about her early on, and then it was like the last couple of episodes, including the one she died, and it was like, oh no, actually, I really like her, and it was just like, and
I think,
it,
I wonder if not many people were talking about her because we saw the potential that was going to come from her and we just wanted to see what
yeah,
that was going to blossom into, and it was cut short.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I just think it hammers home just how, and as I say, applause and hats off to the writers, pardon me, who decided to do that because they made us feel and they made the evil and the bad guy a very, very real threat through what they did. That was a very brave choice. And
yeah,
personally, I think it's made the show all the better for it. As I said, it means that now whenever I'm watching scenes with Camille, I'm on edge.
yeah,
Every scene, I'm
and
on edge.
I haven't actually hidden that he was the bad guy. It was just like it's like people should have worked out by now he's the bad guy.
Yeah,
We did as a whole group. Not necessarily you did, I didn't personally, but it was just like, and it was like, okay, we're not going to spread it out to the end. It's like, who's this mysterious stranger that we actually know who he is? It's just like, yeah, this is him. How is he reacting? And yeah, has the persona that you were just talking about. Yeah. So
yeah,
I'm glad they actually did that. That's a new, different way to, not necessarily a new way, a different way of doing it. It's like, yeah, this is the big bad, and we actually know who he is. And it was just like you gave us a little bit of mystery that this person was a little bit more, but not necessarily rubbed it in our faces straight away, and didn't hold it out too long.
indeed. But then we move back to the ship. May gets her sudden, abrupt, dramatic wake up, pinned to the bed. And Saul says, no, I will release you, but first you're going to listen to everything I have to say. I am going to tell you everything. And I'm sat there on the edge of my seat going, finally, at last. Oh no, don't you dare. And then it cuts to the next scene, and I'm just like, you son of a moopsie, come on.
Yeah,
Um, that was very, very annoying. I think I said in the last episode review we did, this episode for me, I had to have some answers. And they've
yeah,
not given me them, Ben. They've not
yeah.
given
I
us
know.
the answers.
The thing is, for the most part, I've got distracted with the rest of it, not to worry about it. as much as it probably did at the end, but hopefully, and they should give us those in the last two episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Fingers crossed. Probably, I'm going to presume at the beginning of the next episode, and then you are going to be fighting with the reaction for the consequences of what actually happened leading up to the end of the last
Yeah.
episode.
So I've got a theory. Next episode, so episode 7, flashback episode,
Oh,
and it will show us
yes.
what happened from Saul's perspective.
Actually, think about it, yes, because yeah, from what you've just read in, and I've been thinking there's going to be another flashback for ages, and we've not actually had this. And I was thinking it was going to be this week, but actually, yes, that could be the way. Is So's So's point of view.
And then episode 8 will be the climax, culmination, Saul trying to save Osha, big confrontation on the island, and outcome of that. So that's my theory on that. One last thing I'd like to say on this episode is the very end. Osha gives in to Kamia's suggestions, which I thought she would because she is starting to get tempted. She's starting to get curious. She puts on the cortosis helmet, and you get that almost Vader-like breathing to end the episode.
Yeah,
And that puts that big question in your head of what is Osha doing? Where's her brain at? Is
yeah,
she really starting to be corrupted here? Is she going with the flow? Is she doing something in between?
yeah. Or is she going to go her own way, being a mysterious other person that's not light or dark, or not Jedi or Sith or Jedi or this group? Yeah,
Who knows? Who knows? The last question I've got on this episode for you um, is what are your impressions? Now we've seen a couple of scenes with her, and she had a little bit more airtime in this episode, but I can't quite place my finger on Master Rowe yet.
yeah.
I don't know if it's on purpose or if it's the way she's being portrayed and acted, but there's something just feels a little bit um it's not quite flat, but almost flat with her.
I I think maybe to start with, this episode maybe not as much because and there were situations where you could tell she was being very political
Maybe
in this
that's what it
episode.
is. Maybe she's just keeping everything internalized and just being very stoic Jedi Master on the outside. Maybe that's
Yeah,
what I'm seeing.
yeah,
That
and
would make sense. That would make a lot of sense.
yeah, and I think two things. At the beginning, she was being, yeah, she is one who's Jedi shouldn't get involved in politics, but she's being very political and has obviously some kind of person who's telling her what's going on in the Senate. But also, she is also hiding something, I think, from this episode. Um, Other than the theory that she knows Khmer, she is going off herself to go and deal with this. She's telling people to keep quiet. This is maybe to stop scandal, but maybe it's to stop scandal against her
Do you think
person.
she ordered whatever those 4 Jedi ended up doing all those years ago?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly. Actually, they were on a mission from. Yeah, because she is reasonably old and apparently been around for a while. Yes, she could have done that easily. And maybe on top of that, Khmer was there part of the Jedi Order then,
Could have been.
and or gone over to the planet they were after Khmer maybe, or he for some reason was involved.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, when we were talking this, I almost thought, for anybody who knows Star Wars: The Old Republic, I was thinking Shresh for a bit.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's just like,
And I'm like,
and that,
please no, please don't be a Suresh.
yeah,
We don't need that again.
yeah, definitely. Um, uh, yeah, that is a theory we've just come up. I've just started thinking, yeah, but maybe she is a bit flat, and maybe that is why she's a bit flat. Yeah, she combination of her being a stereotypical Jedi, not keeping to the emotions and stuff,
Mm.
but also, yeah, she's being very political, and she is
And
hiding stuff.
and yeah, I agree with you. And don't get me wrong, she's not. I'm not saying she is flat because it's too strong a word.
Yeah,
And there are definitely scenes where she's showing anything but. So, for example, when she's storming out of the room after she gets the message about Saul's distress call, it's sheer determination on her face. She's going on a mission,
oh
literally,
god,
but
yeah,
also figuratively there. So she has been emotive at points. I say there is something about her I've just not quite been able to put my finger on that feels a little bit off. And
yeah, no,
some of your theories that you've been talking about just there might actually be key to that feeling. So yeah, we'll just need to wait and
that,
see.
that's a good thought. I don't have any other thoughts. I think that's come up with my theories for coming up. Was just talking
Yeah,
there. Okay.
my prediction for the next couple of episodes is the next episode will be a flashback showing Saul's perspective, whether it's part flashback or part full episode. Sorry, part flashback, part rest of episode in present day, or whether it's full flashback in the episode. I don't know, but I think it will at the very least involve, if not consume, the episode with the flashback. And then episode 8 will obviously be the climax of all of it, and then whether they leave episode 8 on a cliffhanger or not will definitely tell us whether there is going to be that season 2 or not. But whether there's definitely going to be a season 2, or whether it's up for debate.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting to see, because we are nearly there now, just 2 weeks to go to get to the end of all of this. I was going to say something else, but it's gone out of my head, so I won't
Well, I'm
bother.
thinking of something else before I lose it. I think we may see the downfall of Soul in one form or the other.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
or
Either with
both.
or both. Yeah. So, can I say thank you for listening and watching? It's been lovely having you along for the ride, and please come and see some of our other works, including Jules Across the Stars, where we rank or compare Star Trek to Star Wars and seeing which comes out better uh, week by week. We've had an episode which came out uh, on July the 3rd, which should be ready for UK elections, and where we talk about leaders. And Suresh does not get mentioned
She
in there
does
at all.
not. There's a fair point. She could have been up there as worst leader of all time, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. So come and watch that. Olympus, where can we find you?
You can find me across Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter at Olympus0511. Please do not put a space between Olympus and the number, otherwise you are just going to get a list of cameras. Ben, where can we find you?
Yeah, so including the thing we talked about, Jules Across the Stars, we can find that on Trek Wars and Fantasy YouTube channel. You'll find me at Trek Wars Fantasy on Twitter because there's not enough there to put. And uh, you can also find me on Twitch. I'm hoping to start streaming more stuff, more games, but at the moment it's once a week. I'm playing a game of some kind from Star Wars or Star Trek. Um, and maybe I may get into some other sci-fi stuff at some point. So I've got something in my head that I might do. So,
Ooh, intrigued.
but
I look forward to hearing about that.
anyway, thank you for watching, and may the force be with you
May the force
always.
be with you.